Hey guys, what's up? It's Samantha, and today I am coming at you with another memory keeping spread and what I read during the week. And today I'm using this bookish bookstore themed kit from Scribble Prints Co. This is a reformat. I used this last year, and this time I decided to pull in some sparkly hollow foil. And again, I kept this very white space, but I was able to pull in tons of simply gilded foiled washi. And I did the sidebar a little differently because, not gonna lie, I couldn't find the page with the 5 heart checklists on it when I was doing this. And then I found it underneath one of my sticker albums a few minutes later. So I used these sparkly hollow checkboxes that I had from Scribble Prints Co. to just cover it up and make it into a checkbox situation, the weekly box. And then I just kind of decided to put like my workout minutes down on the sidebar just to fill it in. I was trying to save the stuff I would use for a normal sidebar because I barely used full boxes for this kit. So I am probably going to use the scraps for a different spread in the future. I love how the sparkly hollow turned out with this kit. It's just really, really pretty. I pulled in lots of like shattered glass kind of styled hollow washi from Simply Gilded, along with just some normal hollow washi. But all of it, these colors were just so easy to pull washi to match. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into talking about what I read this week. Unfortunately, I didn't particularly love anything I read this week, so we're going to keep this short and sweet, and then I'm going to talk about my plans as I go. So the first book I finished, which was unfortunately a huge disappointment, was Crimson Rain by Amelie Zhao, and this is the third book in the Blood Air series, which I have read and enjoyed. I had an arc of the first book. There was a big hubbub about the book, and I actually have a physical arc from before it got canceled, and she like rewrote parts of it, and then it was published, and I read that original arc, and a lot of the allegations against the book simply weren't true. But I really enjoyed the first book. I gave it 4 stars. I also gave the second book 4 stars. I had a good time. They were just like good classic YA fantasy, and I reread the first one before I read the second book last fall, so I feel like this isn't just a case of me remembering something from like a few years ago and my tastes have changed. I read the first and second one pretty recently and still enjoyed them. This third one, however, felt like a big flop to me. It just felt, the pacing was really weird. It felt like there were 2 books smashed into one, so we hardly got any downtime with the characters to sort of get to see their emotions or how they were feeling about things, and a lot of the character development. It felt very, very rushed, and there's sort of 2 big baddies left to defeat in the third book, and so it made the first big baddie really anticlimactic because she is defeated about halfway through the first book, and it happens very quickly and without a lot of fanfare after she was set up to be someone who would be very difficult to take down. I'm being vague on purpose. But yeah, I just did not like how it was handled. I didn't care. By the time I got to the end, I was like, I just want this to be over, and unfortunately, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. I gave it 2 stars. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever read, but it was a really disappointing and I would say bad ending to a series I otherwise enjoyed, and I almost think this should have been 2 books. Like, this should have been a 4-book series, not a 3-book series, and that, I think, screwed up the pacing. So, yeah, unfortunately, a bummer ending to an otherwise good series. And then the next book I read was an advanced copy of The Map Makers by Tamsin Merchant, and I would give this somewhere between a 3 and a 4 star, like a 3 star for an adult who likes to read middle grade and a 4 star for the target audience. So I would definitely recommend this to grade school children reading middle grade. This is definitely younger middle grade. And it was cute and fun and whimsical. It's the sequel to The Hatmakers, which I read a few weeks earlier, and it is about a version, like a historical London, an alternative historical London, where there are families that have magical powers that they are able to sort of create different pieces of clothing and imbue them with different characteristics. And there is, like, magic is very highly controlled. You have to have a charter from the king in order to practice magic and create these magical objects. So there's just like a lot of, the middle grade stuff, like the whimsy and the friendship saves the day and like found family trope. So there's just like a lot of that delightful middle grade stuff that I really enjoy, and that is in there. It's fun. It has really fun illustrations throughout. But if you are an adult who enjoys reading middle grade, I'd say this maybe doesn't have as much adult readability as some other middle grade does. It definitely is great for the target audience, though. And then the final book I picked up was A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin. I had been in a bit of a reading funk. I still kind of am. I don't quite know what's going on, but I had a few weeks in there where I was mostly picking up 2-star reads, and I was, with an occasional 3-star thrown in, and I just wasn't feeling great about my book choices. So I decided to do a 180 and pick up an older title, a classic, something that has been recommended to me countless times, and see if maybe that would do it, because I've been reading a lot of new releases, and I feel like authors have also been feeling the past few years, and that's part of why new releases just aren't doing it for me. And unfortunately, I wasn't wild about this book, though it did kind of help me put my finger on what it is about a bunch of the books I've been picking up that I don't like. So in that way, it was helpful. I gave it 3 stars because I didn't hate it, and I do see like how important the influence it had on YA and middle grade fantasy, like how important that was. And I respect that, but it wasn't the book for me as a reader. I think part of it is this was pitched to me as a magic school book, and the magic school portion of the book is not even 2 full chapters, and there's almost no description about what goes on at the magic school. You spend most of this book, quite frankly, on various boats. That is what most of the book is. And I found it very underwhelming, and something that the reason I think I didn't like it is a reason why other people do like this. So the prose is very sparse. There's an economy of words that there isn't a whole lot of description given. It's very broad strokes, like the world is described in very broad strokes. You're not getting lots of detail, and that is something that I really need in my fantasy stories. I love reading fantasy books where you feel like once the story's ended, the book has created such an immersive world that I can spend like hours in my head just walking around and kind of living in this world, daydreaming, whatever. That's something I really love. And I like mundane details about life. I'm one of those people who loves reading a few pages of description about what food is being eaten at a feast, and if a character is going to school or a character is learning skills, I want to be with them from the beginning to the end. I want to watch them struggle and like develop their skills over time. Nothing irks me more than when a character's like, I'm going to start training, and then like 4 years or, months or years of training are written off in a sentence or two. And then it's like the character was now the best at this thing. And this happened in Daughter of the Moon Goddess. That was something that bothered me in that book. And of course, now I'm like, this happened in like Elizabeth Lim's books. I read the first book in the one that was like Project Runway meets Mulan, and then the 7 Crimson Cranes. It's something that I didn't like about her writing style, where you kind of jump from event to event, and all of the like training or character development is not like shown on page. You're just told in a sentence that like this thing happened and then they got really great at this thing, or, I want to be in the weeds with a character while they are developing and growing. So that, at least, is the good thing that came out of reading Wizard of Earthsea. Is I don't like books with that writing style, but that is something that a lot of people do like. So, there you go. I'm not planning on reading any more books in this series. I do still want to check out some of her adult stuff. I would like to read Left Hand of Darkness just to have read it. And there's a couple of other, things by her that I feel like I should read just to have read them. Like, they're the fantasy classics, like to at least know what it's about. But yeah, unfortunately, not a huge fan of Wizard of Earthsea. So then we're going to jump into what I did this week. So this is a week of either sheer panic or absolutely nothing going on. And I've been pretty stressed because there's been some like pretty stressful things going on, which I'll kind of get into. So Monday was kind of a chiller day in terms of this week. I woke up and had my coffee, did my crossword puzzle, spent the morning doing too much scrolling. I was having some joint pain and just like not feeling super cozy. But in the afternoon, I did need to do a Walmart pickup and I needed to fill up gas on my way. And I called my mom and I realized I forgot to write in like fill up gas on that line, but that was what that was supposed to be. And then when I came home, it was a really beautiful sunny day. Joe and I went for a walk outside, like around our apartment neighborhood area. There's like different townhomes and like condos and stuff. So there's like sidewalks and it's kind of more like a neighborhood with various types of like apartment buildings. And then we came back and just played balloons. And then on Tuesday, I did a bunch of laundry. And like I always start my laundry first thing in the morning when I know it's going to be a laundry day. And then I made my coffee and just chilled out. I played balloons. I talked to my grandpa because he is also my insurance agent. And we have to have our homeowner's insurance stuff all squared away before we close. And the lender just keeps calling and being like, they're gonna close in 2 weeks. Like, we're like, no, we're not. We're not closing till July. Like, stop harassing my poor grandpa. Like, obviously, he's the insurance agent, so they're, calling like his work number and stuff. But it's just been funny because he keeps calling me being like, I got this very urgent voicemail saying like we needed to get stuff to them because you're closing like in 2 weeks. And we keep laughing. Like every couple of weeks he calls me because he gets a new whatever. And he's like, I don't think this is right. And I'm like, it's not right. So dealt with that. And then I spent the afternoon listening to my audiobook and playing games. And then moved from playing games to organizing stickers. And then in the evening, I just chilled out. And then unfortunately did have insomnia on Tuesday night. So then on Wednesday morning, I was really tired and groggy because I had to take some extra Unisom to fall asleep. So sometimes it just makes me like really groggy in the morning. And then I listened to my audiobook and played more games. I sat down to do my taxes like in the early afternoon. And I normally don't wait this late to do my taxes, but I had gathered, or at least I thought I gathered all of my tax documents back in February, and I had everything together so I could just like sit down and do it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off and just do our taxes. I knew it would be annoying because we moved and yada yada yada. But I realized as I was doing my taxes that I was missing a document for our HSA, and we had never had an HSA before last year. So it was a document I didn't know I needed, so I didn't know it was missing. And there was a whole hullabaloo because we switched like the HSA provider, like the company that holds the HSA account, switched from like my husband's workplace. So we only had this one HSA company for a few months, and then it switched to a new one, and I couldn't access my old account anymore, and it was a whole hullabaloo to get my tax documents. But this was the day I realized I was screwed. And so the rest of this week and all of the week after this was me just in sheer panic, like calling the people at the HSA place, like trying to figure out who the person to talk to just get my documents so I could submit my taxes. It was a nightmare. So that was that panic moment on Wednesday. And then I had to talk to the salesperson at Pulte, who is the builder we went with for our house. So there was like some sales issue stuff. So I talked to her, and then or like issues that like the sales department was dealing with, because there's been like supply chain shortages and there's been issues with our windows and like getting the stuff in. And so they're like, okay, here are your 3 options. Like, you can do this different thing, or we can like wait longer for this. And so I just like talked to her instead of sending 25 emails back and forth. Cleaned off my desk, and then hung out with Joe on Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I did my crossword with my coffee. It's that lovely time of year where I get like a few weeks in the spring and a few weeks in the fall where my asthma act up and I feel like someone is sitting on my chest half the time. That happened on Thursday morning, which, delightful. And then my car battery was dead. I was supposed to go meet my mom and nephew and sister-in-law somewhere, and obviously I couldn't drive anywhere, so they came over to jump my car. I got to see my squishy baby nephew and get like a couple quick baby snuggles, which was nice. And then I drove around to let my car battery recharge. And then I just chilled out at home and watched YouTube. I played balloons and then talked to my mom because we like didn't really have time to talk. She was watching my nephew while my sister-in-law and I jumped my car. And then I called my brother Charlie. And then Joe brought home McDonald's on his way home from work, which is like my love language. And then I watched a bunch of YouTube and went to bed early because I was just like done. This whole week, I was just done with this week. Friday, I woke up bright and early and called the HSA people, got bounced around. I think I was on the phone for like 3 or 4 hours. It was a nightmare. And in between all of this, I was cleaning and doing laundry. And then in the afternoon, I did read some. And then, of course, at 5 o'clock, after being on the phone half the day trying to talk to someone who can get me the tax documents I need, which they did not. Trust me, there's lots more HSA drama to come. But I poured myself a glass of wine, chilled out, and watched a bunch of cruise tube videos. I'm still on that. Emma Cruises. I've watched most of her backlist now of videos, but I was still making my way through a bunch of her videos at this time. But that was what I did on Friday. I'm still just like, it all worked out. Like, it ended up being fine. I got the documents, but it was like down to the wire, and it was way more difficult than it should have been. Like, even the people working there were like, this is the dumbest, like, this should not be this hard. Like, I am so sorry that like this is our stupid system. And I'm like, thank you. Like, at least they were like, we agree, this is the dumbest thing ever. And I'm like, cool. So on Saturday, which I did the weekend banner over washi, and I really like how that turned out. It was just like fun. I liked it. Saturday, I woke up really early and I was exhausted and I couldn't fall back asleep. So, it happens. And then I was having trouble breathing again. So, handy dandy albuterol inhaler. And then I basically just spent the whole afternoon playing balloons. And then I made some hot cocoa and read. And then, just like kind of bounced back and forth between those two things all afternoon. And then because I had read A Wizard of Earthsea, I decided to watch Tales of Earthsea, which is a Studio Ghibli movie that I think follows one of the later books in the series, which I'm not going to read it. Like, I know I'm not going to read it at this point. And so we watched the movie, and it was like whatever. It wasn't great. It was like compared to like how I feel about most of their movies, I would say it's like one of the worst ones I've seen. It's like not like the worst movie ever, but in terms of what they normally produce, not great. So Sunday, I made my coffee, just chilled out. I made Instant Pot steel cut oats, which is like the easiest way to make steel cut oatmeal. It's like what I use my Instant Pot for half the time. And then my car battery is dead again. So that's been a whole thing too. So Joe and I were going to take my car. We had like some errands to run, but we ended up taking Joe's car. We went to CVS. I needed to pick up a prescription. And then we went over to go visit the house because we hadn't been over in like a week or so. And at this point, nothing's really changing. Almost everything in the house is complete except for the stuff they can't do until the correct windows are installed. So I think maybe there was one new appliance put in, like maybe our vent hood was in or something, or our dishwasher. There was like one new thing that had been added in. And then we went, well, I didn't go in. Joe needed to run into Giant Eagle to grab something. And so I sat in the car. It was a really nice day. I didn't want to go into the grocery store. So Joe ran into Giant Eagle, and then there's like a Wendy's right next to the Giant Eagle, and Joe really wanted Wendy's. So we went through, and it's like definitely been having more fast food than usual the past few weeks, just because I've been like really stressed out, and I'm the person that does all the cooking in the house. So whenever I'm like exhausted or whatever, Joe's quote unquote cooking is like he picks up fast food, but he really wanted Wendy's. We picked that up and then came home. It was a nice day. So we sat out on the patio and had some drinks and read and played balloons, and then came inside and I watched more cruise tube videos on YouTube because that's all I do these days. So this is the finished spread, and I really love how this turned out. I love all of the washi I was able to pull in with this kit. It was just so easy to find washi to pair with it. So very, very sparkly, very, very shiny, and I'm just like really enjoying planning with the white space. It's making me really love planning again, which is nice. So here's everything. Here's a little bit of the wiggle going on. I actually like how I did the washi all the way across the bottom on the left-hand side. I don't think I've ever done that before in any spread ever, but like I don't hate it. So we'll see what I end up doing with that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye guys.